So there are some people out there that aren't really particularly familiar with the way that these M&P pistols work, and I wanted to go ahead and essentially get an opportunity to show you the trigger characteristics so that way we can do a before and after. So let's just verify that the gun is actually clear. This is a VTAC that we ended up putting a thumb safety on, so it does have that feature that, you know, some of you might be wondering what the heck is going on with the rear of the pistol. Obviously this is a well-used, heavily shot pistol. I don't know the exact round count because the pistol belongs to a friend of mine, but as you can see, this pistol is shot, it's carried, it's got lint behind the trigger, and it's well maintained, but it's been shot quite a bit. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is that the internals of this gun are all Apex as it currently stands. Basically, it's got a DCAEK in it, so we're yielding about a 5.5 pound trigger pull, and it feels absolutely great. It's nice and crisp, it's got a little bit of resistance in the initial take-up, and it's very well put together. So let's go ahead and talk about the pistol just a little bit. Let's talk about how the trigger works. So we're going to verify that this is clear, no magazine in the gun. Now, when I put my finger on the trigger, I have the initial bladed safety actually coming out of the way. Again, I don't like that because my finger just doesn't really fit against that the way that I would like. And I got to tell you, when I go to actually press a trigger, I just want to have my finger essentially come in contact with a solid surface. That's why I like 1911s. That's why a lot of other people like 1911s. That's why people, you know, are shooting a lot of double action, single action guns, because the trigger shape is continuous. It doesn't actually change or alter itself. And all of those guns don't have trigger safeties like a Glock or like an M&P. So a lot of people do kind of gripe about that, and I can see why. It's not the end of the world. It's just one of the ways that one of the things that we have to deal with. So what we've got is we've got that initial take-up where that trigger safety comes out of the way. You can see it hinging out of the way. From there, we've got some fairly stout take-up out of the overall pull. I would say that's at least contributing to probably about 2 pounds on the pull, because we do have a heavy trigger return spring in here. Now we come to a wall where the sear is essentially as engaged as it's going to get. The trigger bar is all the way back. Now I start pressing through that wall, and the gun goes off. It's a very, very, very crisp break with these Apex parts. You essentially come to that wall and then fall off. I would liken this to essentially breaking a piece of glass right in half. It's about as crisp as you can make one of these guns, and that's one of the things that we really dig. Personally, for me, were this my own gun and I was using it for competition, I'd like it to be just a little bit lighter, because like I said, this is about a 5.5 pound trigger break. So what we've got is we've got about 2.5 pounds, 2 to 2.5 pounds here, and then probably about 3 pounds on that sear itself. So that break is very crisp, very abrupt, very easy to determine when that gun is going to go off. That whole idea of a surprise break, truthfully, surprise breaks are great when you're first, you know, trying to teach a shooter how to actually shoot a gun. But after that, you really kind of want to know when the gun is going to go off. You don't want to force it to go off, but when you know when the gun is going to go off and where it mechanically resets, it allows you to learn the trigger to run it at speed. It basically prevents you from short stroking the gun. So it's not something that's really going to surprise me, but it is very crisp, very predictable as far as when this gun is going to go off. Now let's go ahead and we'll talk about that reset. Reset with the Duty Carry Action Kit is very short, right there. Now, this gun does not have a ram in it, okay? So it is very, very hard, almost imperceptible to detect the reset. One thing that I will say right there, you will see it in the video, you won't be able to hear it because it is not audible. One thing that I will say is that the RAM is great, it is a good product, it does help with the reset, it gives you a discernible reset feel. The newer Smith & Wesson parts, the new trigger bar and the new slide stop that they have also help with the reset. When you couple all three of those parts together, you have basically a very forceful Glock-like reset, which I like. But again, we've got a very, very indistinct reset by feel and sound. It's right there. You probably won't even be able to see that on the video. But again, when you're running these triggers at speed, you're basically coming off of the trigger, or you should be, or doing your best to get ahead of that mechanical reset of the gun as the slide is recoiling. You should be coming off under recoil and then prepping and pressing through. So that's one of those things where a discernible reset isn't that big of a deal to me, but if you do like that thing, then I would definitely couple the 3 parts together, the Apex RAM along with the new trigger bar and the new slide stop. So those are the trigger characteristics of the Smith & Wesson M&P series of pistols in 9mm, pretty much the same for the 40s and 45s, although the 45s are generally even more crisp than the 9s or 40s. So there you have it.